Hey guys, tonight we step barefoot onto damp cobblestones as a heavy wooden gate groans open in front of you, iron hinges shrieking like they haven't been oiled since the last plague. A torch sputters against cold stone walls, throwing long, crooked shadows that stretch toward you like impatient fingers. The air smells of wet straw, old smoke, and something far less poetic. You take one hesitant step inside the medieval prison yard and immediately realize something important. You probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're settling in, comment below with your location and the local time where you are right now. I always love seeing where in the world you're listening from as we wander into history together. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The gate slams behind you. The sound echoes in your ribs. You stand in a narrow stone courtyard enclosed by walls so tall they seem to swallow the sky. There are no tidy rows of cells like in modern prisons. No neat bars polished for dramatic effect. Medieval prisons, often called jails, are improvised spaces. A tower corner. A castle undercroft. A city gatehouse basement. Anywhere with thick walls and a lockable door can become a place to hold you. And that's the first important historical truth. In the Middle Ages, prison is usually not a punishment in itself. It's a holding space. You aren't here for a long, carefully calculated sentence. You're here because you're waiting for trial, waiting for a fine to be paid, waiting for someone important to decide your fate, or waiting for something much worse. A guard nudges you forward with the wooden shaft of a spear. He wears a faded tunic, a leather belt heavy with keys, and the exhausted expression of someone who has seen too much mildew. He doesn't shout. He doesn't need to. The walls do the intimidating for him. You shuffle past a low archway into a corridor barely wide enough for two people. The ceiling drips slowly. Somewhere deeper inside, someone coughs. A rough, hollow sound that lingers. Historical fact. Medieval prisons were commonly filthy, overcrowded and poorly ventilated because sanitation standards as we know them simply did not exist. There were no sewage systems dedicated to inmate comfort. Waste often collected in buckets. Sometimes not even that. You descend a short staircase, your hand grazing damp stone for balance. The steps are uneven. The torchlight flickers and distorts the walls into wavering shapes. It feels less like entering a building and more like being swallowed. At the bottom, you see it. A wooden door reinforced with iron bands. The guard unlocks it with slow, deliberate movements. Each metallic click sounds louder than it should. The door swings inward. Inside is not a cell in the modern sense. It's a chamber. Low ceiling. Packed dirt floor layered with straw. No furniture. No beds. Just a ring bolt hammered into the wall, and a faint, sour smell that tells you many people have been here before you. You hesitate. The guard gestures. You step inside. The door closes, and just like that, the world becomes smaller. You notice something almost absurdly ordinary. There is no dramatic speech, no official announcement of your imprisonment, no paperwork ceremony. In many medieval towns, arrest could be as simple as being accused by a neighbor and physically hauled here by local officials. Scholars still argue whether medieval justice systems were more chaotic than cruel, or whether they were simply structured around community reputation rather than centralized law enforcement. What you feel right now, though, is neither philosophy nor debate. It's cold. The straw beneath your feet shifts with a dry whisper. You crouch and notice bits of old cloth tangled in it. Perhaps someone's discarded sleeve. Perhaps something worse. Light seeps in through a narrow slit high in the wall, barely wide enough for a hand. It's less a window and more a suggestion of one. The air that squeezes through it carries the faint scent of rain. Another cough echoes from somewhere nearby. Then a muttered prayer. You realize you are not alone down here. Prisons in this era rarely separate people by crime. A suspected thief might share space with a political dissenter, a debtor, or someone awaiting trial for violence. The logic is simple. Stone walls are expensive. Space is limited. Your wrists itch where rope has recently been tied. They did not shackle you yet. Restraints are often used when someone is considered dangerous or likely to flee. Iron shackles, collars, or even simple wooden stocks can be employed. For now, they trust the walls. You run your fingers along the stone beside you. It's slick with condensation. Carved faintly into the surface are scratches, lines, tally marks. Someone counting days, or weeks, or simply trying to remember time exists. Here's an odd detail that almost makes you laugh softly to yourself. In some medieval prisons, inmates had to pay for their own food and bedding. If you had no money, you relied on charity, or you went hungry. Prison wasn't state-funded in the modern sense. It was more like an inconvenient subscription service you never signed up for. A rat darts across the far corner, vanishing into straw. You shift your weight, pulling your knees closer to your chest. The temperature seems to drop as the torch outside the door dims. Night must be falling above ground. You imagine the village or city beyond these walls settling into evening routines. Bread ovens cooling, taverns filling, families gathering around hearths. Meanwhile, you sit in near darkness. Time begins to stretch strangely. Without clocks, without visible sun, hours blur. Medieval people often measured time by church bells. Down here you'll hear them faintly, if the wind carries the sound. A distant bell tolls now. Slow, resonant. You count 3 chimes before it fades. You wonder what you're accused of. Perhaps unpaid debt. That was common. Debtors' imprisonment was widespread, especially in towns where trade and credit were essential. Fail to pay, and you could be locked away until someone settled the account. You lean your head against the wall. It's colder than you expected. Another prisoner shifts in the darkness beyond your door, close enough that you can hear breathing through cracks in wood. You consider speaking, but something stops you. The silence feels safer. Words might invite trouble, or despair. You swallow slowly. This is not cinematic torture. Not dramatic chains dangling in elaborate dungeons, at least not yet. It's more mundane than that. More suffocating. The real punishment, at least tonight, is uncertainty. You exhale, listening to the subtle chorus of dripping water, distant coughing, and the scratch of unseen claws in straw. Above you, life continues. Down here, you wait. And as your eyes adjust further to the dark, you begin to understand something unsettling. Medieval prison is not about rehabilitation. It's about containment.